to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, it's something. Now, remember last episode when I told you that I had something special planned? Yeah, that may not be coming out soon. Okay, so let me explain. I recorded something with the Hill of Roses. 46 subs, let's get him to 100. Anyways, long story short, technical difficulties made the 30 or so minutes that we recorded go Thanos. Just Thanos'd away. But, I mean, we'll do something in the future. I mean, come on. We're gonna do something in the future. Anyways, go sub to him. Get him to, like, a lot more subs than this. He needs more than this. So anyways, that's just the thing. And also my interview with Elijah Manley, the Socialist Party presidential candidate. That's not going to happen sooner either. I think I'm just going to move forward with my list of the line forming behind him. Because it was the second time that I tried to get an interview with him, and it didn't really pan out. I mean, third, technically, but anyways, that's not important. With that out of the way, let's get right into the news. It's only on incognito because the New York Times thing was not... It said, you gotta buy New York Times, and I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. But anyways, this is important. Assange indicted under Espionage Act, raising First Amendment issues. Julian Assange, dang it, still doesn't work. Anyway, they caught on my tricks. I used to do this all the time, but basically, Julian Assange, the WikiLeaks leader, was indicted on 17 counts of violating the Espionage Act. This is bad for the First Amendment, because a journalist is being thrown away in jail because he reported on something that the mainstream media didn't want him to report on. And I mean, even got to the point where, like, Rachel Maddow and a lot of other mainstream news media outlets are actually saying, hey, wait a second, this could be bad news for us. We need to stop this. Despite the fact that literally 2 minutes ago they're like, Assange is ruining ruining America's democracy by invading our elections and helping Vladimir Putin become the new president of America due to Russian, interference. But I mean, that's just the excuse to be like, well, yeah, he may have revealed information from the Democratic Party, but are we actually going to read the emails and explain what the email showed? And they're going to be like, no, we can't do that because I mean, come on, we just can't. Hillary Clinton won the election fair and square. Elizabeth Warren said so. But, I mean, Assange, free Assange, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Free Assange, that's all I can say. There are a lot more eloquent people like Jimmy Dore and Lee Camp that can say a lot more eloquently like the Assange stuff. The next story is coming from our neighbors across the pond. Dang it, I went to this. Theresa May announces resignation date in tearful remarks after Brexit revolt. Bellegarde British Prime Minister Theresa May announced on Friday that she will resign June 7th following a mutiny in her Conservative Party over the handling of Britain's withdrawal from the European Union. May met with the leader of the group, hardline Brexit supporters from her party, earlier Friday to agree on a timetable to stand down and allow her successor to be chosen amongst the Conservative ranks. May is expected to continue as a caretaker Prime Minister until her party elects a new leader. That internal election process will begin in the days immediately following her resignation on June 7th. The leader of the party automatically becomes the Prime Minister. Speaking of the nation outside of her office, May said she believed that if you give the people a choice, you have the duty to implement what they decide, referring to the 2016 referendum that saw the nation opt to leave the European Union. I have done my best, she said. I have done everything I can to convince MPs, she said, noting that she had tried 3 times to get the deal she'd reached with the European negotiators approved by Parliament. So, yeah, Theresa May is out. And people have immediately jumped on the fact that she is probably the worst prime minister the UK has ever had. Not due to really a lot of these policies, but just due to the fact that she's been incredibly ineffective. She's went through multiple Brexit deals, and she hasn't been able to do it. Like, at all. Like, period. None of her Brexit deals went through. Like, literally none of them. They could have went through, but she was terrible in actually explaining her, like, what she's gonna do with her deals. And that's leading to a whole divide that's kind of going into now, considering they are actually electing their representatives for the European Union. Now, the UK has, hold on, let me see if I can. There's also a lot of controversy in regards to that. Basically, here are all the parties that are standing for the next election, and this is pretty much EU referendum 2.0. Labour, Tory, Brexit, UKIP, Green, Scottish National Party, Liberal Democrats, Sinn Féin, Democratic Unionist Party, Plaid Cymru, Ulster Unionist Party, and Change UK. Literally, these are all the people standing, and there's a lot of controversy in regards to their Brexit positions. Some are for leave, some are for remain, some are opposed to Theresa May's position, her referendum. Some are supportive of the referendum, not referendum, but her deal that she made with the EU. Now, as you can see, there's some parties that are like, wait, Labour's for leave? Well, I mean, customs union, that's pretty much their only caveat. Labour's kind of been iffy in regards to leave, and it's widely speculated that the Brexit party is going to get pretty much the winning seats due to the fact that they are just hardline for Brexit. And it's expected that Change UK is going to be the least, popular party. It was a topic that me and the Hill of Roses got into briefly, but, I didn't get a chance to explain, Change UK, it's not even really that popular in Europe. But, I mean, there's also a lot of, there's a lot of, see, this is pretty much the polling of the EU things. Originally, Labour was going to be headline up, but they kind of went, when the Brexit party started entering the scene. And I'm slightly inaccurate. It appears that Change UK is going to do slightly better than the SNP. UKIP, they're doing worse than UKIP. I mean, UKIP's doing worse than them. And that's Plaid Cymru. Yeah. These are you see, even the Liberal Democrats are doing way better than them, and the Liberal Democrats are just there. But of course, this is leading to some questions. Who's going to be the leader of the Tory party when Theresa May is out? Well, I have a pretty good idea on who it is going to be. And I know, I'm going to predict right now who it's going to be. This guy is going to be the next Prime Minister of UK. It's a given. Out of all of the candidates out of all the candidates that could be the leader of the Conservative Party, he's the one doing the most well, and he is also the most adherent to Brexit, which is clearly going to be the biggest issue in regards to the UK for the time being. So, Boris Johnson, I'm just going to say it right now, Boris Johnson, next Prime Minister of the of the UK. Anybody who says different, fight me on it. But anyways, going back to America, we have the Republican challenger. Oh yeah, don't you remember? Republicans are actually challenging Donald Trump for the presidency. I mean, one is, but let's see what he has to say. GOP challenger Bill Weld turns up to heat on Trump. Seems he would prefer an Aryan nation. President Donald Trump's lone Republican challenger, former Massachusetts Governor Bill Weld, ratcheted up his attacks on the president Tuesday night. Speaking at the first of a series of Kennedy Institute events focused on the 2020 election cycle, Weld levied a number of his harshest verbal jabs yet, saying earlier this week that the president preferred an Aryan nation. I celebrated that Americans have always been a melting pot, Weld said at the speaking event on Tuesday. It seems he would prefer an Aryan nation. According to the Anti-Defamation League, Aryan Nations is a long-standing neo-Nazi group in the United States that dates back in the 1970s. When asked to explain what he specifically meant by Aryan nation, Weld told ABC News that he believes the president would prefer a nation with no immigrants. The comment, which appeared to be a step further than Weld had gone in past attacks aimed at the president, even elicited a justification from the longshot candidate himself. I know that sounds strong and tough, but he's very interested in bloodlines and has resonance. Bravo, Weld. This is amazing. It's wonderful. Nobody has ever compared Donald Trump to a Nazi before. I think that's your winning strategy, dude. You're just right there, and you're gonna win the Republican nomination hands down with this stunning, amazing. Oh wait, no, you're not. You're not gonna win, like, at all. This is stuff that was said, like, long ago. Remember? That was the whole thing. That was, everybody was saying, like, Trump is literally Hitler, guys. We can't elect literally Hitler. He's literally racist. He said Mexicans. He didn't disavow David Duke. I mean, hello? You might as well take some of that hair off of his head and put it on his nose, cause he's literally Hitler. Oh, well, you blew it. You rejoined the Republican Party for nothing. I mean, let me explain. Weld had his winning electoral strategy gift wrapped to him. He was the vice presidential nominee for the Libertarian Party and stated he was a libertarian for life. Why didn't he just go either run as a libertarian or run to get the libertarian base that has some hold in the Republican Party? It's definitely going to do a lot better for him in the poll numbers than just being like, oh, Trump is literally Hitler. I mean, this is why Amash literally just decided, I'm not even going to run as a Republican. If I run, I'm going to run as a libertarian. And the libertarians are fine with this. They're always getting their Republican sloppy seconds. Bob Barr, Gary Johnson, the aforementioned Bill Weld. They're not really strong adherents to that. I mean, Bob Barr literally made a bill that was going to ban gay marriage and voted for the Iraq War. They were willing to just say they would have 100% accepted Bill Weld as their nominee. I mean, Mitt Romney even contemplated voting for Bill Weld when, you know, he said, if Bill Weld was the head of the Libertarian ticket, I'd be voting for him easily. But it's Gary Johnson, so I'm not going to do that. So, yeah, it appears that Weld is just going to, at most, he wins Massachusetts. That's pretty much all I can imagine him winning. Speaking of candidates and long shots, here is someone that we have heard from before. Spiritual guru makes 2020 debate stage. You might say, wait a second, didn't I already cover this story? Well, no. Marianne Williamson announced that she had met the qualifications to make the first 2020 debate stage. We just hit 1% in our third poll, and I'm deeply grateful for the many people who expressed early support for my candidacy. Today we reached an important milestone, and we can go full steam ahead from here, Williamson said on Twitter. Williams said an inspirational author and friend of Oprah Winfrey is running a campaign based on the idea that kindness can fix the country. We have a choice in this country. We have someone who has harnessed fear, racism, and bigotry, anti-Semitism, some of the worst faces of the human character for political purposes. There's only one way to override that, and that is to harness love, decency, compassion, forgiveness, mercy, love for each other, and love for our country, and love for our unborn great-grandchildren. We need to harness for political purposes. This month, Williamson had also reached the other standard, 25,000 individual donors. Williamson attempted to fill a California seat held by Henry Waxham within the support of actors Jane Lynch and Evan Longoria. She also had the support of, Alan Grayson and Dennis Kucinich, but that's, meat and potatoes or whatever. I don't know what that saying was. But, this is a good thing. I ultimately do want Marianne Williamson to make the debate stage. But, she's not going to get much farther than that. She's going to make it to the debate stage. She's going to say some things, and then they're just going to, just gone. Okay. And there's also another candidate that made it that far. Jay Inslee. Jay Inslee previously he just had the polling threshold, but he didn't have the 65,000 donors. But now he has the 65,000 donors. Because he didn't really need that much before, because he was actually the only political candidate so far that I know of that actually had a super PAC. Did I know this beforehand? No, I didn't know that. But I do know that now. So, yeah, Jay Inslee had a super PAC, and that doesn't necessarily bode well for me, who would more than likely vote for, Jay Inslee should he make it to the general election. I've made it pretty clear, Jay Inslee's like the most corporate I would go, pretty much. Like, again, he's done some good things in the past. Iraq War, he voted against the Iraq War. But, Jay Inslee, he's, alright. Look, there's a mosh again. Anyways, there's actually another story that I contemplated covering, but I thought it was already pretty clear. But I guess this is technically news. I want it. Debates. I thought it was already known, but I guess it wasn't known. So I guess I'll make it pretty clear. DNC boss says that candidates will be involved in the debate lottery. Democratic candidates for president or their representatives will be involved in the Democratic National Committee does a lottery to determine who stands on the stage during the
Democratic candidates for president or their representatives.
I already said that. Perez said that the DNC hasn't determined the precise methodology for the random draw yet, but he says that the process would be transparent and the candidates or their representatives would be involved. So pretty much now, I think I'll get to this part. I'll try to see if I can find the chart that best explains it, because they had a chart here that best explained it, but did they get rid of it? Debates. It's probably down here somewhere, like in the the thingy. You know the thingy. The F, bro. No, it was debates and forums. I think I saw it. But anyways, like, pretty much the qualifications for the debates are as follows. You have to maintain 1% of support in 3 national polls and 65,000 donors. There will only be 20 candidates that are on the debate stage. If candidates who meet both criteria will 100% be on the debate stage. Like, there will be no... Like, if someone meets all 3 criteria, they're not going to be like, oh, well, this guy can't be included because blah, blah, blah. But if more than 20 candidates qualify for one of them, like, let's say some candidates had all of them, some candidates had only one of them. If you have poll numbers, you're going to take precedent over ones who only have donations. So, yeah, let me explain. I guess this would be a better explanation. Here are all the candidates that have met the criteria. Biden, Booker, Buttigieg, Castro, Gabbard, Harris, Inslee, Klobuchar, O'Rourke, Sanders, Warren, Williamson, and Yang. These are the guys that have met all the qualifications. So they will be 100% in the debate stage. Here are the ones who only meet the polling criteria. De Blasio, Delaney, Gillibrand, Hickenlooper, Ryan, and Swalwell. So, let's say if Bullock, Bennett, Gravel, Messam, and Moulton meet the donor threshold, these guys would have precedent over these guys because these guys hypothetically only have the donor threshold, but these guys have the poll numbers, so these guys would get in the debate stage before these guys. So pretty much it's all comes down to who actually has, and as you can see, there's more than 20 candidates. There's Biden, Booker, Buttigieg, Castro, Gabbard, Harris, Inslee, Klobuchar, O'Rourke, Sanders, Warren, Williamson, Yang, de Blasio, Delaney, Gillibrand, Hickenlooper, Ryan, Swalwell, Bullock, Bennett, Gravel, Messam, and Moulton. Now, who's actually going to make it to the debate stage? Now, this is tricky. Who will... Like, of course, these guys automatically get in. And it's very likely to assume that these guys are going to make it in as well. But that leaves us with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Oh, wait, that is 20. Oh, so I guess that's solved. I guess I'm pretty sure that these guys are going to make it to the 2 debates that are scheduled for, like, one day after another. These are going to be the 20, probably. So, Michael Bennett, Wayne Messam, Mike Gravel, Seth Moulton. It was nice knowing one of you, but it looks like you're out. But anyways, now let's get on to the presidential candidate of the day. This guy's a minor presidential candidate I've never heard of until recently, but I guess he's notable, because he's actually kind of a, because just judging by the fact that you'll see what I mean. Ben Glieb for president, he's a comedian, like, okay, he's kind of like Jimmy Dore, he's a comedian. Now he's like an alt comedian, which means like, oh, he's like does like funny jokes about the corporate media and stuff. But that's nothing. But let's see what his platforms are. Like, what are the issues that he's fighting for? Stopping crybaby Trump. None of this can happen if we allow 4 more years of this madman destroying our democracy. You know, the K. Fight for a living wage and affordable housing for all. Healthcare for everyone. Not letting robots take over. Saving our planet. Combine white-collar prisons with blue-collar prisons. Taking care of the veterans. Modernizing our schools. Taking back our democracy. Big money out of politics. Student loan bailout. Guns are cool. Kids are better. Treating all humans humanely. So yeah, he's a lot better than Amy Horowitz, who's like, the socialist left has taken over the Democratic Party. We gotta bring some actual policies there to fix it. But, you know, he's kind of like Michael Arth in that regard. Do you not know who Michael Arth is? Don't worry, nobody does. He's a guy who's a really progressive guy, you know, social democracy, you know, UBI and stuff. But he didn't get to be Yang and Williamson and graduate from minor candidate to major candidate. So there's, you know, some problems with that. But, you know, best of luck to Ben Glieb to whatever he does next. One good thing that is coming soon is the fact that it appears that the Democratic, sorry if I'm stuttering, it's just focusing or stuff. But anyways, the speculation of the Democratic candidates appears to be over. Like, it appears to be done. All the people that have either been speculated to be candidates or, like, are candidates, like, they're either running or they're not. There are only 2 holdouts, Stacey Abrams and Joe Sandberg. His is expected in July, and her decision is expected in September, to which everyone's like, no, tell us now. Like, I mean, I kind of grew to hate Stacey Abrams. She was on my endorsement list, but I'm kind of growing to really hate her. Just run or not. Whatever. But anyways, now on to the main topic of this video. Well, not topic, quiz. The Political Sextant quiz. Now, the thing is, I actually planned to do the Political Sextant a while ago, but it didn't end up happening because, well, for lack of a better term, it didn't really work. Like, at all. Like, the 2019 update of the I Sided With test that I took was actually supposed to be that. And ironically, Permanent Revolutionary, who's a subscriber of mine, I guess. I don't see him come up on my subscription list, but I guess he's a subscriber of mine. He seems to always be in my comment section. I'm going to say always, I mean sometimes. He suggested a Political Sextant, so I decided to try again. And lo and behold, this time it appears that it actually worked. So here's how it works. It takes some of the most popular political ideologies that are kind of known and kind of not known, and ranks them for you. I think it's just the top 5 or something. I don't know if it does them all. But, you know, like it says, it feels free. I can add my own ideology if I wanted. But, I mean, let's just get into the quiz because, let's just get into the quiz because that's, we'll see whatever one is the thing. Before you lies the Political Sextant quiz. If you are unsure how to answer, you can click pros and cons. Below each question, get arguments for and against it. If you don't care, or you're neither for or against, you can choose no option. I guess I'll just do that to prolong the episode. We should strive to remove hierarchy where we can. People would be free to make their own choices without the unjust power structures. A good thing considering the frequent incompetence of rulers. People may not be able to choose the best for themselves, but their choice is better than some official. Removal of hierarchy could be an unworthy goal that could lead to chaos and lack of order, not to mention plagues of inefficiency. Hierarchies may also be seen legitimately created through merit and ability for people to give power. Now this is a good question, like, do you go with, the possible corrupt leaders and ineffective leaders? Or do you go kind of pro-anarchy or something? I guess I would have to remove... I guess I would say... slightly agree. Hierarchy is sometimes good, but for the most part, some hierarchy is not necessarily the best option. Capitalism has failed and should be replaced with another system. I guess I'll do pros and cons for this either way. Capitalism has failed. Okay, I reread that question for some reason. They're dyslexic or something. Poverty, inequality, and greed are just some of the issues with capitalism. A system that has brought us all these problems are becoming more and more prevalent. No sane person should really suggest that we shouldn't try to handle these problems, but some people claim that the benefits of capitalism outweigh the cons. These people clearly do not understand what it's like to live in poverty, or at the best contribute far too much to capitalism, and at worst, to have obvious contempt for their fellow human beings. Capitalism has not failed more than nature has failed. What opponents often refer to as capitalism is the very natural system of exchanging products and services. To claim that this is the issue with society nowadays is fruitless, since we can't really make a better system with the organic one that we have now. I guess I'll put slightly agree again, because, social democracy is like capitalists. No, wait. I word social democrats to be... I word them in this unique way, and any social democrats can be like, okay, I'll take that label. But social democrats are pretty much socialists that are a little too greedy. We like money too much, basically. If someone said, I'm going to give you $200, you're going to be like, yes. But we also are like, maybe we should not, charge $3 million for drinking water. But, capitalism has its pros and cons, and to some extent, the cons are... social democracy, it's like, to me, it's pretty simple. A pro of capitalism can be fixed with a... A con of capitalism can be replaced with a pro of socialism, and a con of socialism can be fixed with a pro of capitalism. Large-scale civilizations are unsustainable. Cons: large-scale societies have allowed us to produce such elevated forms of art and science that would have otherwise been impossible to attain. Pros: it is not worth trying to make the megacities and countries of millions that could not harm the environment, as these are inherently polluting. I would say... large civilizations are unsustainable. This is the thing. You can actually tell, the more mainstream political quizzes, the more boring the questions are. But this one is nobody cares about the political sextant quiz. So it's giving you the hard-hitting questions of deep philosophical stuff. Large-scale civilizations are unsustainable. Now, I would probably say slightly disagree, because, I get the idea of, China and the US are really big polluters, and they're really big countries. But you could also say, well, maybe just doing something simple like a Green New Deal could make that problem disappear. But, it's kind of an iffy subject. We should strive to remove borders that separate us as human beings. Pros and cons to that. Pros, borders are arbitrarily defined things based on arbitrary definitions of race, ethnicity, nationality, religion. The fact that we are all human beings, that we share I guess I'll go with no opinion. I wanted to do any of these questions with I didn't want to answer any of these with no opinion, but I had no idea how to do this one. Borders do have some actual things that we need to an extent. I mean, like, if we had open borders, there would be a lot of people here that, okay, I mean, again, I'm not even gonna, okay, hold on, I'm trying to explain it the best I can. Open borders, I want people to be able to come here and, and become legal citizens. That's a given. But having them just storm in here with just kind of no way to actually check them and verify that they're going to be here for a good reason, that's a good thing. Not a good thing, a bad thing, but okay, so let me give you. The thing is, I want to say this without stumbling over my words, but I'm stumbling because I don't want it to be like a JonTron moment where it's like, we can't build a society with other people's children. I don't want to be all Steve King / JonTron on this, but basically, yes, borders do have good intentions and good things, but we can't just throw all the brown people out. So, like, not remove borders, but not make the borders like heavily fortified militaries, basically. So yeah, I guess no opinion is just stuck here. Technological advances often cause more harm than good. Pros and cons. We have countless examples of technologies being converted into primarily military ones. Gunpowder is mainly used for guns, not fireworks. Generally speaking, many of the problems solved by new technologies are outweighed by tremendous capacity of the harm they bring. It is not generally the fault of technology, which is arguably unstoppable in its progress, for its use. Society finds a way to turn medical technology into bioweapons, but it is absurd to suggest that we should not have fostered the environment that allowed us to eradicate cholera and smallpox. I guess I'd have to put strongly disagree, because ultimately technological advances are a good thing. I mean, when humanity first existed, the most technologically advanced thing we could do was smash two rocks together until one got pointy and it became a stabbing tool. Yes, it caused harm to the thing you're stabbing, but ultimately it led to good things, because the stabbing that you obviously did with that was with an animal to then eat and then reproduce and blah blah blah. Nowadays we're developing technology like solar power technology, wind energy. We can now travel very fast with bullet trains, I believe is the right thing. Public transportation and all that stuff. We're making life more convenient for human beings. So ultimately, technological advances are better in regards to the good ones. Of course, the fact that we are also inventing technologies of like a drone that can find you and kill you in 3 minutes, that's not necessarily a good thing, but, that's a given. Whenever you develop a good thing, it's always going to develop a bad thing too. Yes, we also developed phones that can then, call anybody, but now people can also use that to track us, and the government does do that. State involvement is needed to protect citizens' interests. Pros and cons. There are many selfish individuals who can easily start disputes that result in all sorts of issues. The state is the only institution which can be relied on to deal with these justly. The state is just an arbitrary group that is given the authority to decide for citizens and often does not hold their interests at its heart, rather being influenced unjustly by a small share of its citizens. state involvement is, like, again, this is kind of like I'll put slightly agree, because, I mean, let me explain it in the best way I can think of. Like a court case, two individuals are squabbling over some land. Who are they going to go to? They need to go to a court to deal with it and say who has the land. But, there's also governments that overstep their boundaries. And, like it says on the con, they won't necessarily, like, some people have special interests that don't adhere to the will of the people. 70% of the American people want Medicare for all, yet a majority of Congress does not want Medicare for all. I mean, you gotta take what you can. Sometimes the government, like, I'm not going Adam Kokesh, but, the government ultimately is good. I say that with a question mark, because, like, it's weird. It's also like, you can't necessarily say, like, oh, these people are the party of big government, or these people are the party of small government. It's kind of like an iffy gray area. So yeah, I guess it would be the same thing for this. An iffy gray area. But I slightly lean in the direction of state involvement is needed to protect citizens' interests, especially in regards to regulating, carbon emissions and stuff. It is moral and justified for someone to profit ownership from private property. People who have worked to earn a living and wisely invested their wealth so that they can retire and live off the fruits of their labor are hardly evil people. To suggest that people should not be able to benefit from working hard is to encourage laziness and generally stagnate production of goods and services. Someone who owns an apartment block and rents it out to earn large amounts of money, despite never having to even visit the apartments, is hardly providing much benefit to society. A CEO who earns millions, whilst a poor farmer works just as many hours a day with the back-breaking labor, all because the CEO owns a lot of stuff, is similarly not moral and acceptable. Private property like this is certainly not moral. Now, I've actually been shifting a little further to the left every day, so eventually at one point I might have to just change my intro, so instead of saying center left it just says left wing. I might do that by the end of the year or something. But, again, it's an iffy subject because, I'm not one of these socialists that says that we need to abolish private property, but we also need to understand some private property isn't necessarily the best thing. Like, as they say here, just because a CEO owns a lot of private property does not mean he is really profiting from stuff that he himself needs. But I'd say slightly agree because, again, social democracy's like got that sense of like, we have like all we want is universal health care, $15 minimum wage, and then after that, and also we want the rich to be taxed. After that, become a billionaire. Pay your fair share of taxes and you can still be a billionaire. Religious leaders should play a key role in running the government. I don't need to pro and con this. Just 100% disagree. No, religion, stay away. Out, out, out. We don't need, we talk crap about Sharia law all the time, and yet people are like, no. We should do that for Christianity because that'll work. And also, just because you might say, oh, well, of course you're saying that because you're an atheist. Well, state atheism isn't good either. In Mexican presidential elections, I'm more of a Cardenas than a Calles. If you watch that series, if you don't know what I'm referencing. The betterment of society should be the primary goal of the members of society. Yes? I don't need a pro. Let me just check the con. What? Wait. People find themselves in worse position. What? Of course it's agree. Why wouldn't it be anything else? It's important to be wary of change, thus we should stick to tradition. No, I don't need to read this one either. Just no. Change is a good thing. It's just... Oh, this is changing my answers. Change is ultimately a good thing. Resistance to the system is best achieved through the use of underground markets. The most effective way to undermine the state is inhibit its ability to collect taxes. The state generally does not make the bulk of their income from the goods and services, but rather from sources like income and corporate tax. Illegal markets are also likely to be easily targeted by law enforcement. The most effective way to undermine the state is to inhibit its ability to collect taxes. The best way to do this is by having an underground black market where... I mean, the way this question is worded is weird. Because it's like, it words it in a sense that, like, you're automatically in resisting the system. What if you're for the system? I guess I would put disagree. I'm not entirely sure about this question. I'm reading both of the pros and cons, but it's not exactly making sense to me. Like, I mean, I guess, like, the sense of, like, oh, we need to protest the government by, you know, buying stuff on the black market. No, I mean, it's not necessarily a good way to fight the government either. Let me see. Society should not seek to impose a specific code of conduct on the individual. I guess I'll say... slightly agree. Because, I mean, yeah, we shouldn't, like, force everything upon an individual person. But again, there are also laws. So, yeah, you know, serial killer laws. But, you know, we also don't want to force everybody to be of a certain political ideology or whatever. Most if all government decisions should be decided by a citizen's ballot rather than a fixed representative. Now, I guess I'll have to go with no opinion. Because a citizen's ballot, you know, I would love more decisions to be made by a referendum. But there's some decisions where it's just like, you're going to have a person who knows what they're talking about to actually make the decision for you. Like, I mean, just now, we were talking about the EU, like, a little bit ago. A lot of people on the Remain side believe that a lot of citizens who voted to leave the EU made a very poor decision because they didn't do proper research on the European Union and what it did. And to an extent, I say, yeah, it makes sense. But, you know, we need to... like, more decisions need to be made about a referendum. But I wouldn't say make everything a referendum. We need to try and protect the environment from humanity and its actions. Yeah. Women do not, but should, share the same rights as men. What? The radical idea that women are people is still a radical idea. Unequal wages, lack of basic rights in many countries throughout the world, and medieval society, family values persist. Unequal wages are arguably caused by the fact that most women are unwilling to take jobs in the valuable industries that are engineering, computing, and science. Many women are indeed happy to stay at home, leading traditional home-caring lifestyles. The inherent differences between men and women that given them the equal rights would be like saying the oranges and apples have the same taste. Oh, hold on. Okay. I think I make sense of this one. They're saying that women don't share the same rights as men, but they should. If that's how the question is, I'm going to say agree because no duh. Everyone is equal I'm an egalitarian, not a feminist. You know, it's the anti-SGW in me talking. I'm an egalitarian, not a feminist. State regulation of markets should be minimized. Nah. Regulation's a good thing. We need to regulate the market. Social democracy is the win. The rights of the individual should be paramount. The tyranny of the majority arising from the idea that we should do what's best for most and can completely ignore the desired consequences that could be inflicted upon the few. Individuals should have no fewer rights than the groups that they seek to impose suffering upon. The rights of the individual are clearly important, but it is a simple choice to decide that one person should die to save 100. Like, I mean, I never understood that whole thing about, like, individual rights versus collective rights. Like, what? I don't get it. People are like, oh, but the rights of the individual are blah, 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 blah. I mean, who said I was taking away individual rights to give? Everybody has the same rights. But you made gay marriage illegal. And you made it so that transgender people can't be discriminated against. Well, yeah, you can't get discriminated against either, buddy. I mean, I don't get it. I don't really understand that whole thing of, like, individual rights versus collective rights. I guess I'll slightly disagree because I'm kind of in the middle of this. I'm like, what? I don't get this as an issue. No, you know what? I'm going to put no opinion because I really don't understand the difference, to be frank. Opposition to the system in its forms of actions not allowed, in the form of actions not allowed by the system, is a justifiable tool for change. Going through the system is not necessarily a useful way of obtaining change. In fact, morally corrupt systems that suppress good changes at least severely reduce the speed of which good reform can be done. It may be dirty, but illegal actions is quite possibly the only reasonable ways to actually force changes for the better. Going against the system almost always results in unacceptable violence in the form of riots and bloody revolutions that ultimately tend to fail their initially moral goals. Going outside of the confines of the system is simply too dangerous and likely to fail to be justified. Now, I'm kind of going to say slightly agree because, you know, someone who's protesting, you know, marijuana laws, you know, toke up. In order to protest the system, you need to break a little bit of rules, but you don't just get to break 100% of the laws. You get to be slightly unruly. Money should represent hours of work rather than the value of work. It is absurd that a farmer should earn less in a full 12-hour day of work than the corporate executive that makes only 1 hour. The farmer and the CEO are both working equally hard in terms of effort, so it is simple steps to suggest that they should really be compensated equivalently. Paying people the same amount of work for the same time spent working just means that people are going to take the easiest jobs they can find. Not to mention that in such a society, no one would have any reason to try and work harder than their co-workers. This elimination of completion and lack of encouragement to work in general would clearly result in unacceptable reductions to the efficiency and production. Now, it's kind of iffy because I'm not a communist because, you know, that was always my thing. I remember when I was such a little conservative little boy, and but if you pay everybody for the equal amount of time, then they're all gonna be slackers. But you know, social democracy is kind of like, in the sense, kind of a middle ground. In yes, you gotta pay people for equal work, but I mean, money should represent hours of work rather than the value of work. I guess I'll put no opinion because the way it's worded makes me feel confused. People should be free to identify with any sexual orientation or gender they desire. Yeah, sure. Why not? Want to identify as gender fluid? Be my guest. Want to identify as bi? Be my guest. Whatever. A strong and well-funded military is desirable. Now, this is iffy because, you know what, I'll put slightly disagree because, yes, excessive military spending is bad, but, just having a military that is, military would be fine. Just, you don't have to pay $3 million. I mean, not $3 million, but like 12 trillion gajillion dollars in a military that we really don't need to be spending a certain amount of money on. I should be proud of my culture and support those of my culture over those who are not. Now, here's the thing. If you said just this, I'd be fine. It's the last 5 words, over those who are not, that make me go this. Because if you're saying like, oh, the whites, you gotta 100% like the whites, over me saying, like, even if you're like, I'm gonna support the Mexicans over the whites, it's not really gonna be good in any terms. If you're gonna support your own race over someone else's race, that's bad. Just accept everybody's race. But hold on, let me check. Yeah. Not just race or culture, but like, be your interests. If you're interested in politics, be friends with someone who likes politics. If you're friends with someone who likes sports, be with sports people. We have achieved such levels of production that there is more than enough goods to go around. I mean, to an extent, yeah. To an extent, yes, and to an extent, no. Like, these guys use the example of fossil fuels. We don't have enough fossil fuels to go around, but we have enough food to go around. I'll put no opinion because I'm in the middle on this. For some, yes. For some, no. Government intervention in markets in order to protect citizens' interests is justified. Yeah. Change should be achieved through the apparatus of the system. I think we're going to get to the questions that are like opposite reverses of other questions. I mean, yeah, I'll slightly agree on this too, but like you can change things within the system or outside of the system. Change will happen. You gotta make changes wherever you can. Workers' unions lead to inefficiency or corruption or unemployment and thus should not be allowed. Disagree. The Internationale... No, that's not the song. I'm thinking of the other one. Solidarity Forever, for the union makes us strong. I have like a whole lefty song playlist. I should like link it somewhere. People should elect representatives to vote on government policy in their place. Slightly agree, yeah. Religion and government should be kept separate. Yes, 100%. Similar ideologies should act in unison to challenge radically opposing ones. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm for coalition governments. If the U.S. had a more parliamentary system, things would get done a whole lot faster. The Green Party would be able to endorse, like, Ocasio-Cortez. I mean, I'm pretty much in favor of fusion voting, pretty much. I'm totally in favor of the idea of, like, 30 left-wing parties forming a coalition in the U.S. government. Mexico does that all the time. And they have the same electoral system as we do. So, yeah. Well, I mean, they don't have an electoral college, but, you know. Society should adhere to religious tenets. No. I mean, some of these questions are just one and done. Workers should be organized according to their industry to protect their interests. Yeah, so on. Yeah, for unions. The unions. There's pretty much a question about unions. A small group of politically conscious intellectuals should lead us into a revolution. Pro cons. See the USSR. I'm gonna slightly disagree because revolution, that's too much. A political revolution a la Bernie Sanders, yeah, I can live with that. We should try to limit meat or dairy consumption as much as possible. Pro-con. The ecological damage and moral depravity of meat consumption in the modern world has reached unimaginable levels. Whether you want to acknowledge the billions of lives that are forced to experience torturous suffering through a year, or the contributions of methane of beef cattle to global warming, or the hundreds of millions of people who got hungry every night because we waste almost half of our crops ineffectively feeding our meat, there can be no doubt that we are able to do this out of the necessity, and I like the taste of meat is very far from being a valid justification. The meat industry is huge. Why? Because Peop, who are clearly more intelligent and really more valuable than any other animal, regardless of the measure used, have the needs and wants that we shouldn't try to limit. Most people can clearly conceive that a life without meat would take away one of the great pleasures in life that they find in food. Let's not also forget the millions upon millions of jobs that rely on this industry, and the domesticated animals that we keep alive as a species that would have never lasted in the wild. Now, I am a meat eater, so I'm kind of biased in this regard. Yeah, all the previous questions about lefty stuff, I'm not gonna disclose my lefty bias there, but I'm gonna disclose my meat eater bias on this question. Yes, we should try to I guess I would slightly disagree because ultimately, freedom. People are free to eat as much meat as they want. But I do agree that we need to have some things to make, the meat industry a little bit safer in some regards. No, like too much methane gas and blah, blah, blah. We should strive to abolish wages. No? Let me see. Like, that reminds me of, like, a DSA poster that it made me go, like, what? Like, they said, like, abolish ICE, abolish profit. It's like, what? Abolish profit? You mean the Prophet Muhammad? That was terrible. But, like, what do you mean by abolish profit? You're not going to abolish profit. Everybody's going to get a wage. Minimum wage, maximum wage. There's going to be wages. We can't abolish wages. We have a society with money, and it's not going to change. People have the same fundamental worth. This quiz was a lot longer than I thought it was. To suggest anything less than this is to suggest that certain people deserve more rights than others. One thing leads to another, and soon we'll have returned to having nobility with separate rights to the peasantry. It certainly seems moral to prevent people from being given rights on whatever arbitrary basis that separates them from others. People are not equal. Whether you see this as a problem or not misses the point. People are different and clearly have different values in society. And in general, treating people as equals is pointless when certain people are obviously more intelligent, stronger, and more powerful. Yeah, I'd say fundamentally every human being is worth the same. Depending on, like, a black man has the same worth as a white man, $3. Saying a black man has worth kind of... That came out worse than I expected. Saying that a black man is worth something has racist connotations, kind of. That was... woof. Okay, but anyways, everybody's worth the same. A disabled person with Down syndrome has no less worth than Stephen Hawking. So yeah, we're all equal. No matter what race or religion or stuff you believe in. Government should only be involved with the administration of vital services like the police and fire services. I guess I'll put slightly disagree because, I mean, again, government regulation of industry, stuff like that. Taxation of land and buildings should be the primary source of government revenue. Taxation of land is probably the best method of government revenue. Not only does this create a more fair system whereby those who own more land and property pay more, but this actually encourages efficiency in business to make it necessary for people and companies to make a profit from their property, effectively ending the existence of empty or unnecessary factories and apartment blocks. This method of taxation, from being unlikely to provide enough government revenue unless taxes on property are sky high, is not really effective or distant from other forms of taxation. Value-added taxes, income taxes, both fulfill their purposes in adequately and much more fair way. I guess no opinion. Communism is a failure and would be detrimental to even attempt such a system. Let me see. Regimes may have called themselves communist, but most of them were just lying about their beliefs and aims. True communism is possible, and indeed, such a system that has been theorized has never tested. I'm going to put no opinion on this because, I'm not a communist. I have never heard a communist manifesto in my life. But, I get the idea that you're trying to say, you can't explicitly just throw away a system because some of the things of socialist societies were out of their control that caused them to fail. So anyways, let's see what my best one is. Guild socialism. My top ideologies are guild socialism, let me see. Guild socialism. No way. I'll look through these first and then decide. Liberal socialism. Third way? No. This is... yeah. Marxist feminism. I'm not a Marxist feminist. Liberal socialism. Socialist political philosophy that encourages and adds liberal philosophies. John Maynard Keynes. Keynesian economics. That's cool. Let's see. John Stuart Mill. I guess it's pretty similar to social democracy or something. I don't know. There's a lot of... Yeah, it had social democracy as their thing, I think. So, yeah, there's some... Let me see. What's guild socialism, though? Compromise between syndicalism and collectivism. I keep getting all these further left ideologies, but I've stated before, I'm deep down... Puja. I'm probably deep down more left than I actually politically philosophize. Marxism? Marxism, really? And third way, I'm just not even going to get into that. My worst ideologies are clerical fascism, fusionism, paleoconservatism, First of all, Reagan is not a paleoconservative. What's fusionism again? Fusionism is a Republican philosophy. I know that for a fact. Hold on. What other ideologies do they have? I didn't read them all. Anarcho-capitalism, anarcho-primitivism, anarcho-communism, anarcho-naturism, anarcho-syndicalism, classical Marxism, Stalinism, Baathism, Delonianism, clerical fascism, mutualism, collectivist anarchism, agorism, deep ecology, anarcho-feminism, classical liberalism, bleeding heart libertarianism. I would have expected maybe bleeding heart libertarianism, civic nationalism, fascism, minarchism, compassionate conservatism, Bernsteinism. This is the man who made social democracy and democratic socialism. How did I not get that? Flangelism, free market environmentalism, fusionism, geolibertarianism, green libertarianism, green syndicalism, guild socialism, individualist feminism, iron guard, insurrectionary anarchism, integral nationalism, Jewish, Kemalism, labor Zionism, Leninism, liberal democracy, liberal socialism, Luxemburgism, Marxist-Leninism, national anarchism, Nordic model. How did I not get the Nordic model? Odalism, ordoliberalism, social democracy, paleoconservatism, paleolibertarianism, Pancalissa, queer anarchism, communism, synthesis anarchism, three principles of the people, third way, Trotskyism, neo-Zapotismo, Fourierism, Gandhian economics, Xaliates, Marxist feminism, and Stranoism. Yet these are my ideologies. Political Sextant, I think you're completely off. I mean, even other ones, when they say like, oh, this is your political philosophy, at least for those ones I kind of get. You know, like libertarian socialism, left libertarianism, progressivism, you know, that kind of stuff. I guess that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified when a future video of mine comes out. And if you're interested in more political content from me, you can go to my website or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Quora, or check out my articles on the Independent Political Report. Go subscribe to the Hill of Roses, everyone. I'll probably be appearing on a video on his channel at one point in the future.